Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name's Holden Blaze, and today we're going to be talking about the recent market correction that we're seeing in cryptocurrency and what this means for the Bitcoin cycle. I'm seeing a lot of fear in the markets right now, and I'm even seeing some people saying that we topped out in March 2024. I am personally in the boat that thinks that theory is ridiculous. I am buying this dip heavily, and I do not think the bull market has ended. I will point out a few charts today that do look quite bearish and is the reason why some people are selling right now. However, I will also outline why I think this period of time is a great opportunity to accumulate more crypto and why I personally have not sold any of my coins. Now, of course, note that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. However, I do think this video will be quite valuable for you. With that being said, here we are on Crypto Bubbles. We can see that the coins ranked from 200 to 300 have gotten absolutely wrecked in the past month, with many of them down close to 50%. I know for a fact a couple days ago, my portfolio was down 50% from the value it was at 1 month previously. However, I am not panicking. I've been through this before, and quite frankly, the summertime is never really that bullish for crypto. In fact, I remember last summer there was a ton of FUD surrounding the SEC labeling altcoins as securities, and the summer before that was quite bloody as we were in the middle of a bear market. I'm personally not surprised whatsoever that we are seeing some sort of correction as we enter the summer, and quite frankly, we may chop around this area for quite some time. I am not expecting a major move out of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and quite honestly, most altcoins until Q4 of 2024. Now, of course, that is speculation. I could be absolutely wrong. However, Q4 is historically quite bullish for Bitcoin, and right now the charts look pretty bearish. If we go to the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, we can see that last month we were sitting in extreme greed with a reading of 78, and right now we are sitting at a reading of 26, heavily in the side of fear. This is really not a great sign. If we look at the chart of the Crypto Fear and Greed Index over time, this head and shoulders pattern that we just saw play out is eerily similar to when we topped out in April of 2021. And again, this is adding to the bearish sentiment. There is a ton of fear in the markets right now, and I am honestly quite surprised at the number of crypto influencers who are saying that the top is in and that we are entering a bear market. I quite frankly do not think that is happening. However, it is very notable how much fear is in the market. In fact, we have not been this fearful since Bitcoin was trading at 17K in early 2023. And honestly, this is a super bearish headline. Headlines like this usually come out after a major topping out event. And quite honestly, it gives some credibility to the people who think we are in the complacency stage. This is the Wall Street cheat sheet, Psychology of a Market Cycle. This plays out every single cycle within crypto. However, at some times it can be difficult to spot where we are at in this cycle. I personally believe that we are sitting way down here in the hope/optimism phase. However, other people believe that we are already in the complacency stage. They believe that we hit euphoria in March of 2024 with all of those meme coins exploding to the moon. And currently we are on the brink of a massive bear market. Now, if we go and do some technical analysis, things don't look much better. No matter how much technical analysis you do and how much credit you give to it in the cryptocurrency space, this chart is somewhat concerning. I threw a MACD indicator below this Bitcoin chart on a weekly time frame, and we can see that every time that the MACD starts to turn into red candles, Bitcoin experiences a massive dump. In fact, this event occurred right when it topped out in 2017, and it led to a crash of 85%. This also occurred in the summer of 2019, and it led to a drop of 67%. I bet you can start to see the pattern here. This also called the topping out point in April of 2021 when we dropped 54% on Bitcoin. And lastly, it really marked the end of the bear market as we dropped an additional 73% after this MACD crossed red. Now, if we look at the current day and age, we have to note that the MACD has already crossed into red candles, and quite frankly, the blue line under the orange line here is a very bearish signal. This looks eerily similar to when we topped out in previous bull markets. And again, this is why some people are very bearish in the space. There is some reason to be bearish right now, and I do want to show you these warning signs. I think it's silly to absolutely ignore these warning signs flashing in front of us, even though we also can acknowledge that it's not the end of the world. I will end this video on a very bullish note. However, before we do that, we have to look at the Ethereum chart. This is honestly just as scary as that Bitcoin chart. If we look again at this MACD indicator, every time the green candles cross into the red and this blue line pushes below the orange line, we usually see a very sizable drop, and it marks a topping out point in the markets. This again marked the top in 2017, 2018, and it also marked both of the tops in 2021. With that being said, considering we are printing red candles on this MACD and the blue line is below the orange line, I have to say this looks very similar when we topped out majorly in the past. This is something that we should not ignore, and it should be on our radar. There is a reason to be cautious right now. However, like I said, I think this bull market still has a lot left in the tank. This is a chart that I showed in a video a couple weeks ago, and it basically outlines the theory of a 4-year cycle. It notes that if you look at when Bitcoin's topped out in the past, it always ends up being in Q4 of the year following the halving. And following that pattern, we would top out sometime in October through December of 2025. I find that roughly half of the people in crypto right now are believing in the 4-year theory, and the other half are starting to question whether it's going to happen again. Now, I cannot say for certain that this 4-year pattern will repeat once again, and I do note that this 4-year pattern will eventually stop working. However, I don't think it's going to deviate from this 4-year pattern by over a year. It makes zero sense why we would have topped out in March of 2024, considering the Bitcoin halving hadn't even happened. I think you could argue that more people are aware of this 4-year cycle than they were previously, and therefore the 4-year cycle may get front run. However, again, I don't think it's getting front run by over a year. Right now, I'm seeing a ton of retail investors panicking and selling their bags at huge losses. And quite frankly, I think the institutions and smart money are gobbling up all the coins possible. We're not seeing any companies or institutions switch the narrative whatsoever. I know we saw the German government move around some Bitcoin and possibly liquidated some of their captured Bitcoin. However, quite frankly, I don't think that's bearish. I think that the powers that be want the crypto market to be down right now. And quite frankly, I think they want it down so they can accumulate more coins. Now, I know some people think the whole market is rigged, and others think that whales do not have any influence in the market. However, I personally think there are higher powers that have a lot of influence in this market. And quite honestly, I think they are purposely doing everything they can to suppress Bitcoin's price. This is completely normal. We've seen this every single cycle. And usually when retail traders are freaking out because of some flash news event, the insiders and smart money are taking the time to accumulate more crypto. Now, this is not financial advice. However, that is exactly what I'm doing. I've been buying heavily into LCX, DSO, Ponki, PNG, and Caspa. Those are positions that I've added to heavily in the month of July, and I have no plans to sell my cryptocurrency. Like I've said in other videos, as we start to get into 2025, I will look to take my initial investment out of the market. However, right now, I am taking the time to buy more. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to get shaken out of the market at this point, and quite frankly, it doesn't really matter that some of these charts look bearish. If we zoom out and look at the exact same data set, but in a different way, it tells a completely different story. Looking at the 3-month time frame for Ethereum and ignoring the MACD completely, we have to note that Ethereum usually tops out after printing at least 4 consecutive green candles. Note that this is on the 3-month time frame, which means that Ethereum is basically mooning for a year straight. We saw this play out in 2017, and we also saw it play out in 2020 and 2021. In fact, last cycle, Ethereum was able to print 8 consecutive green candles on the 3-month time frame before it eventually topped out. If we look at the current day and age, the most consecutive green candles we have gotten is 2, and quite frankly, we're sitting on 2 consecutive red candles. To me, this looks like we're still in an accumulation phase, and we have not seen the blow off top that signals the end of the bull market. I do not know when this blow off top is happening. It could happen at the end of 2024, and the market has the possibility to top out near the start of 2025. However, if we take a break from the charts and look at the fundamental macroeconomic trends, I think it paints a very good picture. There will be a lot of dominoes that are falling all around the same time of Q4 2024, and I personally believe they will act as major catalysts for Bitcoin and the crypto market as a whole. The US presidential election is a big one. The Ethereum ETF is also massive. I'm not sure when exactly that's going to come out, and I would not be surprised if it gets delayed all the way until Q4. However, that is another massive catalyst that we have not seen happen yet. And I think the biggest factor out of everything I've talked about in this video is interest rates. Interest rates and how strong the dollar is heavily impact Bitcoin's price. We've seen this throughout history, and arguably the dollar is one of the best assets to track in order to figure out when Bitcoin will start pumping. A good way to judge the dollar's strength is to look at the DXY, the US dollar index, and we have to note that in extended bull markets for crypto, like in 2020 and 2021, the dollar usually sees a great devaluation. These two assets trade inverse to one another. When the dollar goes down, Bitcoin goes up, and when the dollar goes on an absolute tear for months on end, we see an extended bear market. The reason I'm highlighting this fact is because if we zoom out and look all the way back to 1980, we can see that the dollar is in a long-term downtrend. It makes these lower lows decade after decade, and quite honestly, I think we may have already topped out on the dollar. Since then, we have been consolidating and going nowhere. However, until the dollar starts to fall downwards, Bitcoin is not really going to move. We need to see the dollar start to devalue, and the best way to do that is to lower interest rates. I believe that when interest rates get cut, altcoins will start to take off. I don't think altcoins can pump in a major way with interest rates so high right now. However, in 2025, we are expected to get rate cuts. That, in theory, should throw a lot of gas on the fire and pump up a lot of different cryptocurrencies. This is probably the last sizable dip before we start going parabolic, and I quite frankly think it's a great opportunity to get into the market. With that being said, I am not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice, but if you enjoyed the content, check out some of the other videos around my channel. I hope you all have a great day. Peace out.